First off, as with Hillary Clinton, the poorest Americans voted for her. It's not about the price of eggs. Lowest income people voted Democrat. This country's not man enough to make a woman president yet. And I don't like to say white women because millions of white women voted for Harris. I prefer to say just women who are dead inside voted for Trump. And we wonder, how is this so possible? It's possible because 2 generations of Christians in this country have been groomed and raised to believe that criminalizing abortion is the main focus of the ministry of Christ. Whereas the Bible never bans abortion, God asserts a fetus as property in Exodus 21, and a woman's life has more value in his eye. God gives abortion tips for pregnant, unfaithful wives in Numbers chapter 5. God drowns every fetus on earth one time because he was in a mood. God's the least pro-life character in the book. Let me tell you, Gentiles, about Passover. But because Jerry Falwell realized in the late 70s that tax-exempt status for schools that practiced racial segregation wasn't winning in the midterms, and they switched to the focus of the right-wing Christianity being the right for women to have control over their own body and the right of men to force American citizens to be pregnant against their will. That has replaced the teachings of Jesus. I ask MAGAs every day. They call into my show at SiriusXM. Please give me one actual gospel teaching of Christ, Trump or your movement fight for. And you'll learn they've never read this book. It's their spiritual camouflage. I want to remind everybody that Kamala Harris has the 4th most votes of any presidential candidate in American history, the 2nd most votes by any Democrat ever. She got 4 million votes than Barack Obama in 2008, 7 million more than Obama 2012, 7 million more than Hillary Clinton, and 10 million more votes than Donald Trump got when he got the White House in 2016. There are more of us. And there's not going to be this massive surrender that our corporate media thinks has to happen for there to be peace.
So, John, that's amen to that. But that's the second piece I wanted to get to, because you're out here, as I mentioned, on the Sexy Liberal Tour. And so you're seeing and hearing from everyday voters out there. And your audience is not just composed of liberals. I mean, I know you have that appeal because you are one of those guys that people, along with the other, folks that are on the tour with you, people want to come out and have a good evening, have a laugh at themselves, and have a laugh at their opposition. A
lot of hostage husbands get dragged to our tour.
A lot of hostage husbands.
I make them feel welcome every night. I make the whole audience welcome the Trump supporters before I do it.
So that's my thing. What did you in those travels? Was there anything that you could pick up from folks out there that would tell you, Houston, we may have a problem? That why 10 million voters did not vote in this cycle? Donald Trump is basically playing at Hillary Clinton levels in 2016, not Joe Biden levels in 2020. Yeah. So what do you think among voters out there, when looking at this race, they just said, F it, I'm staying home?
Look, the Christians elected Caligula, and God sent a plague.
Yeah, I say that all the time. No wonder God sent a flood.
Yeah, I mean, but again, we had high turnout because God sent a plague, and then when there's no more plague, we don't have as high turnout. So we can point fingers all day, and people are doing it. I mean, everyone's pointing fingers. People are blaming Joe for not dropping out earlier, blaming Joe for dropping out, blaming Kamala for this or that, blaming Hillary for not picking Bernie, which is...
I would like to blame Nancy Pelosi. I would like to be on record.
Yeah, everyone's got it, and it's great, and it's fine, and it's healthy, and it's getting the bad blood out, because by Valentine's Day, comb over Caligula will have united everyone once again. MSNBC's worried about their ratings now. Have a good Christmas, people. Just breathe a bit, rest, work out, get strong, because we're not going to let this drive us crazy. Never let a Nazi see you sweat, never let a racist see you cry. But Donald Trump is going to unify everybody to the left of Newt Gingrich, who are pointing fingers at each other right now, through his sheer incompetence, awfulness, racism, and misogyny. So it's not any... Look, yeah, it's going to be bad. Yeah, people are going to get hurt. But I have so much faith in the majority of Americans being able to resist this stuff. I have a little bit of faith in the oligarchs who own this country, resisting Donald Trump if they want to. This happens because we have no idea how Fox News raises people and babysits people and keeps people's brains occupied in huge swaths of this country. Be anywhere in America, you guys know, walk into a cafe, walk into a store, walk into a bar, you'll see Rupert Murdoch's propaganda on the screen, telling white people what they want to hear.
Walk into a military base, which should scare everyone about what Donald Trump wants to do by activating our military and turning them
That's
against
why they believe Donald Trump cares about them. That's why they believe Kamala Harris wasn't intelligent, because they're taking this in all day.
Yep.
I'm a part of the only 24-hour progressive radio station that's coast to coast in America. There is no TV equivalent. I did a show for Al Gore a couple years ago because he was trying it, but they weren't really serious about it. Until there is some kind of progressive media infrastructure to rival the brainwashing apparatus for profit that the right wing has. I mean, they do it for profit. We're going to keep on losing our Caucasian brothers and sisters to this propaganda machine that keeps them punching themselves in the face. This election's not like 2016. This election is 2004. A petulant millionaire at birth president lies to the American people. A lot of people get killed. In that case, it was a war. In this case, a plague. And the American people said, well, he lied. And a lot of people got killed, but I'm going to vote for him anyway. Like, it's inexplicable unless they're getting brainwashed all the time. And we haven't found the way to use facts, the Constitution, the law, and the gospel to reach these people yet.
Well, I think that this point about because of our fractured media environment, depending on like who you trust to tell you what is going on, if you are even wanting to key in, right? Because there's a lot of people that are like, I don't even they say I don't watch political news, right? Yeah. They watch all these other things and then they consume their news on the internet. Depending on where you get your, how you inform yourself, you could potentially be receiving a different set of just basic facts. And I think the genie, to John's point, is out of the bottle. And so I'm a fellow at Georgetown this semester, and I asked the students in my study discussion on Monday, like, I said, where do y'all get your news? Because we talked about the media apparatus. And they named these sites on Instagram, these pages on Instagram. And I was like, they talked about some of the tip sheets, right? Because these are Georgetown students. Okay, so they at least they're like Wall Street Journal in the morning, CNN 5 Things, Politico, Axios, Playboy. But no one named any of the news on TV. They talked about YouTube.
Yeah.
And they talked about content creators. They talked about podcasts. And someone made the point that, like, well, at the end of the day, the people in the podcasts and whatnot are not doing their own individual reporting 9 times out of 10. They're talking about what happened in the news, what the news people are reporting, and then layering on top of that. So I just, it's a conundrum. But unless people are willing to, get out there, have smart conversation, right, that rivals some of the other conversation that is happening, the information bubble is not going to be popped, because people across the country, they have a lot of things going on. People are dealing with all kinds of stuff. We do this every day. We're the political professionals, but most people, they're not worried about what the president is doing and saying, or what, they're worried about how to put food on the table, how to pay their bills, like what they're gonna, do they have money to, get their child on a field trip this week? Can they do Christmas presents? And I just think that some of the people in the media apparatus just like are just so far removed from the reality of that like there's a disconnect in how people are trying to talk to other folks.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. And I would say that, Michael and I are well aware of how that propaganda machine has been built. We've been watching it. And I think at some points, unwittingly, we're a part of it for years in the Republican machine. And, I often reflect on like, oh my God, what role did I play in this? But but our superpower is that we do speak plain language. We do meet people where they are, which is why we're considered trusted voices. And the problem is that we all are recognizing here is that there has not been the same amount of investment on the other side for the honest, truthful voices that speak to people where they are, to combat the propaganda machine that's been built on the right for 3 decades now. This has been going on for 30 freaking years. And they recognize that, which is why Fox News was started, which is why the Salem radio networks and the talk radio conglomerates were pumping out conservative talk show hosts for all those years. I mean, conservative radio had a huge influence in my thoughts on conservatism, from Bob Grant to Rush Limbaugh and Hannity and all those guys, Levin, all those years. And then of course, everything that they claim to believe turned out to be bullshit, because everything that those conservatives, most of them, were talking about does not apply to Donald Trump, because he's anathema to all of those things. So it was a bunch of BS. But I use the example that Bill Buckley is spinning in his grave, because he's the one who said the conservatives are supposed to yell "Stop Athwart History" when no one else would. Well, I believed that. I thought that's what we were doing when we became Never Trumpers. And I thought that the other conservatives who were so sanctimonious in their liberal democracy values would do the same, and they didn't. They sold out for political expediency and power. So
you were a conservative. They weren't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, and I still have a certain worldview, but I'm an independent right now and probably will be for the rest of my life. But
I always have been.
Yeah, but the thing is that what the common denominator here is that we should all understand that if we want to live in a free society, what Donald Trump is selling people is not a free society. It's a dangerous populism that's masked. It's in this populist "I'm for you" when it's actually fascist authoritarianism. And we've seen, I mean,
but they already bought it, Tara. Okay,
I know.
If they would like to send it back to the store, they have to hold on to it for 4 years. Right. They bought it. It is purchased.
It's true. But we have to figure out a way to speak to people, meet them where they are, so that they understand the stakes. Because unfortunately, I don't think a lot of the people, not the MAGAs, they're the cult. I'm talking about the other folks, like that Hispanic family that was like, well, he's going to help us and he's going to deport those other people. He's not coming for us. There is a certain lack of information flow that nobody talked to them about what's at stake. No. They're talking about you too.
Right.
There was a part of that was missing in this election on the grassroots level. And that's I think something that if Democrats ever did an autopsy or postmortem or whatever they want to call it, like Republicans did in 2012, you'll see that. We'll find that out and how that was missed. We cannot afford to miss that again, because now a lot of people are going to be hurt because of it.
I would just say, how I think people gonna learn? My mama used to tell me, "Don't touch that thing," and I'll be like, she always telling me, "Don't touch it," and I touched it.
Yes, pain. People don't change unless they pay enough of a price.
Then I might have got tapped. Or if I touched the stove and I burned my hand got burnt. And I'll never forget my mama told me not to iron on the bed. I got a scar on my hand right here because I was ironing on the bed. And one day the iron flipped on me, burned. It was crazy. The iron is, people are ironing on the bed right now, okay? And the iron is going to flip over and it's going to burn them. And then they will never forget. I'm sorry. But
they'll forget, Symone. They forgot.
Well, maybe it will be seared in their brain for the immediate future. And maybe people will decide to make other decisions, and maybe they won't. We don't know. People are flawed and fickle, and people are people. We're all people. But I just, I don't think any amount of information is going to get burned by the stove.
No, you're right.
Get hit by the iron, maybe.